we will get outbreaks of diseases and new mutations of viruses here and there forever and a day. So the critical factor is how we respond when this occurs, how organisations like the WHO react, and how countries like China share the information, tell us about outbreaks, instead of arresting, silencing and suppressing any medicos or officials trying to alert people. That's the real problem here, and it's been brilliantly highlighted by Tim Blair today in the Daily Telegraph. He took an article that was submitted by the Chinese Consulate and applied some of the editing, redacting and censorship techniques that Beijing's communist regime might use itself. So, after Blair's censorship, it reads like this: China should be held responsible for the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. These claims are convincing. Is China to blame for the original sin, the outbreak? The answer is known. Wuhan, Hubei province, that's where the virus originated. The common enemy of mankind is World Health Organization. China, take the blame. And so on it goes. Just brilliant work by Tim Blair. He'll join me later in the show. And no, he's not expecting to holiday in China anytime soon. Let's cut to the chase now with Tim Blair on the central coast of New South Wales. Tim, showed your column at the top of the program. This is just extraordinary, really. This is one of the memorable newspaper columns of all time, and all you had to do was cross out a few words.
Yeah, there's much thanks, to the Chinese Consulate for writing my column for me. All I did was, with working with the rest of the staff, just put some black ink across the unacceptable phrases that we found during our pre-publication vetting. We've basically done to the Chinese Communist government what the Communist government does to its own citizens every day.
And brilliantly, what you've done, without adding words, just by taking out some of their qualifications and some of their twists, you've actually turned it into the truth. That China did create the virus, that the World Health Organization is a shocker, and that China's to blame.
Easy as, mate. Again, all thanks to the consulate. I understand they've been calling the office today. No one's there.
Incredible. Now, no doubt, a lot of attention will be paid to this column around the world, especially in Beijing. You're not hoping once the travel bans are lifted that you might be able to duck up to Beijing for a holiday, are you?
I don't need to, mate. I've already eaten a bat. So, yeah, I've ticked that one off on the bucket list.
Now, just on this, Jack Houghton, our digital editor at Sky News, has put up a piece today where he's looked at some information that's come to light that shows how the Chinese regime electronically censors all sorts of information coming in and out of the country, and texts and emails and WhatsApp. And they're just cutting out phrases about the virus and phrases suggesting the government has any culpability whatsoever.
So, again, they're following our model, right? They're following what the Telegraph did to their own words.
That's exactly it. That is the truth.
They do love censorship, don't they? They're really keen on it. And, if they've indicated, the local consulates indicated they want to sit down and have a serious conversation with the Daily Telegraph. And we're like, well, sure, we'll believe what sort of info you're giving us out of Wuhan and out, everything to do with the coronavirus, if you give us finally some believable numbers out of the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Fair point. We are used to the misinformation over a long period. I want to get to a couple of other big international stories. One is Kevin Rudd's got another job. The IMF want to solve the problems of the world, so they go to Kevin Rudd. And you wonder why we don't have faith in these multilateral organisations.
Yeah, I mean, this is all wasn't he on the United Nations Third World Toilet Committee for a time? I think that's as high as he rose there after Turnbull 86'd him for going any higher. Now he's with the IMF, and it's just a hop, step and a jump now until he's running the World Health Organization. Go, Kevin. Run it, mate. Run it into the ground.
Dear, oh dear. And it's enough for the ABC to get him on for an interview, a lengthy interview with lots of meaningless words every now and then anyway. Now, the other big issue in global politics is Joe Biden has now finally been endorsed by Barack Obama. His best buddy, his brother from another mother, the man he was vice president to, waited until now to endorse him?
It's not a good look, is it? When you don't endorse the guy when it matters. You know, when he was up against, you know, many other prospective candidates, and it came down to a battle between him and Bernie Sanders in the end. Still no word. But when he's the last man standing, when he's the only possible choice, he's got my full support. It's like trying to put a bet on a horse after the race. You know, like you can't do it that way. You can't go to a bookie and say, look, I'd like to put a bet on number 3 in the last race, please. And
that's what he's done.
Pay out that way. Yeah,
that's what he's done. There was a great Facebook post where Obama was leaning over to Biden saying, I've endorsed you now. And Biden says, for what? Thanks for joining us, Tim. Love your work.